Bob Nagy here. Yes, it is that time of the year, and it is very cold out here, so I'll keep it pretty short. Anyway, this is FT-991, the final analysis. And I'm saying that because we've seen the end of the FT-991 and the FT-991A, its replacement, come in. And the FT-991 had grown a bad reputation for blowing finals. A lot of people had their finals go out on them. And it was conjectured that it was a calibration error, a factory calibration error, or possibly a bad run of finals. But it seems as though the late models, the late runs of the 991, they had that corrected. And of course, they completely corrected it probably in the 991 Alpha and gave you the full real-time scope instead of pushing the button and interrupting your audio while you did a scan. So these are some of the easiest things to fix in a radio final situation like that. So it really didn't scare me off of buying a deeply discounted 991, which is what I did around Christmas time of 2016. The question is it a good idea to get one of these at a deep discount? And that's what I hope to offer, talk about relatively quickly in this video, because you've got some competition there. Why would you buy this radio over an ICOM 7100 or the IC 7300, ultra popular new SDR rig, or the TS 480? Let's just talk about that. And you can look at the lab numbers on the Sherwood Labs or the other tests online of these radios, abject receiver performance and things like that. But then there's another aspect, and that is getting it in the shack, playing with the radio, and then you're always surprised what you have in your mind of how it's going to look and feel. And you get in the shack, it's either a little smaller, a little bigger, it feels different, the tuning knob feels different. But I'm going to try to convey how the 991 feels to operate. That's what I'll be doing. And also, I know all of the after 5 sunspot cycles, I know all the family characteristics of the big Japanese manufacturers and the American manufacturers have owned most of the radios. And, each of them has their strong points, and I'm not going to hold back as far as, telling it like it is. And the Japanese manufacturers, Kenwood's always been the great transmit audio guys. Of course, that comes from their stereo heritage, with their stereo line of equipment. So they've always had killer transmit audio, fabulous, and they make a good, reliable radio and decent prices. And for people that want to run that hi-fi sound on SSB, a lot of them are using Kenwoods. Yaesu, ICOM has always been the receiver guys. They've always had the incredible receiver specs, military-looking rigs, really high reliability. Not so much on the transmit audio quality. And Yaesu has been the balanced guy in the Japanese picture. So they're the, good transmit, good receive, pretty good price, pretty good looking radio, reliable. And a lot of people are Yaesu people for that reason. It's sort of like France and Europe. It's sort of the balance point from north to south. Yaesu bucked the trend by coming out with the FT-1200 3000 series economy radios. In other words, their prices were lower than a lot of these super high-priced radios coming in, and the performance was pretty darn high. Plus, they had the display scan screens, the spectral displays and everything. So they were trying to go in that niche of a radio that people could afford and still offer very nice performance. And also, what manufacturers do is that they reuse circuit designs in one radio to the next so that they can reduce the engineering costs. So what you find is, on a radio like the 991, a shack in the box, you find that a lot of the basic design elements are very similar to the higher cost radios because they're reusing the designs, and it just makes it less expensive for them to put these radios out. And also, I have to say that HF is not a tremendously challenging thing to design for, because it's really very low frequency compared to the most operation in the gigahertz today, and it's just atmospheric noise and things like that they're having to deal with. So there's not a lot of technical ground to be gained in these kind of radios, more bells and whistles. So, assuming that you can snag an FT-991 that has been to Yaesu for a final repair, or a used market one, or a very late model one at a deep dish discount, let's take a look at why you might choose this radio over the others. So here we are in the shack on 20 meters, upper sideband. Friday, moderate activity on the band. Conditions are not spectacular, they haven't been lately. And lots of locally generated noise. I'm in a subdivision environment here. So let's take a look at just basic operation on the rig real quick. If you want to go somewhere to a band, well, you just hit the band connection over here, band button, pick your band, and hit it again, and you're on that band. And you can tune around.
That's okay, but it's not the greatest, and you're coming in good.
And if you want to change mode, you just hit the mode button here, and you can pick any of your modes, including CW upper and lower side, data modes, and C4FM, the digital mode. Hit the button again, and you're out. When you hit the sweep button here, it does a one sweep of the spectral display, and you sort of get a snap picture of what's out there, and then you can tune over to it. There we go. I'm going to go back to 20. So let's take a look at what we would normally be using. This has a lot of buttons on the front here for a very small radio, so a lot of the stuff that you normally use will be on here. A VFO to memory, moving stuff around. You got your split button, your clarifiers, which is the top knob over here. Your CS is a custom set button, so you can assign any of the menu stuff to it. Things like the automatic antenna tuner, very easy to hit over here. Hold it in. It does the tune-up. 3, 2, 1. Come on. And it tunes up. I think I'm on my 40-meter antenna there. And this is your Scratchpad Memory. This is really nice because you can stick 5 different memories in here and pop through your ones that you use a lot, like I listen on FM on 6 meters there, so I can get to it rather rapidly. Back to 20 meters. A equals B VFO. So you got your 2 VFOs and your memories, 100 memories. A equals B, switch between A and B. Your fast tuning and slow tuning, which you tend to use a lot. So if you really want to move around fast, you hit fast, and then you take it in on slow.
7-3, happy holidays to you from W4JES.
There we go. These guys don't know they're going to be in the video, huh? So some of the other stuff you get to here is very simple. First of all, you have on the bottom of the screen 4 buttons which you can configure to any different buttons you want, and they seem to track the mode you're in. So if I'm in FM, these will be 4 different ones, and you can pop any of the ones out of the menu into here. And of course, as usual, we have sort of a high menu, a light menu with a lot of different stuff in it here. The most commonly used stuff, which I'll go through in a second. And then we have the deep menu, where we have 150 items in here, all different things, and a lot of cool stuff, like equalizers for compressor on and compressor off. 3-band equalizers, separate ones for each of those. Audio filters for each mode, high and low. Contour, a whole bunch of good stuff in here. And it's good to have a little cheat sheet, so you know when you need to go in and do some particular thing, you can do it quickly, and then you just hit back and you're out of the deep menu. But the higher menu here with the function button gives you all stuff that you use normally. And that is, take a look. Transmit on and off, Vox, typical. You want to monitor your signal locally. And you use the forward or backward arrows to increment through them. Power output, yeah, it's in here. It's not on a separate knob, but you can drop it down to your 4 always there buttons, which I do in sideband. Mic gain, things like that. Squelch for FM. And you have your memory channels if you want to go into those. And of course, these are appropriate for the mode that you're in. Then you also have memory channels, voice memories for sideband and CW memories for CW. And you can call those up and play them, which is really nice. This here with the swap is where you change the buttons on the bottom, 1 through 4, to any of the ones you want to stay there all the time for your different modes. Now here's some ones that you use a lot as well. IPO is the switch for the 2 preamps you've got, preamp 1 and 2, and preamps off. IPO means that both preamps are off. Your attenuator, which you might use occasionally. Noise blanker, which I found to be absolutely normal and average for a rig like this. If you have a lot of noise, it's going to crud up the audio when you have it cranked up real high, and there's just nothing you can do about it. But your wide and narrow over here is used quite a bit if you want to go narrow or wide on sideband. For CW, of course, those are much narrower. Width is something that I put. Here's the next menu screen. I put that down on here because whatever button you have pushed, that ends up being the little multi-D10 control here. Right now in width, I can control my bandwidth from 1800 all the way up to 3200, and you can see a visual representation of it on the screen, which is rather nice. But whatever last one you pushed on there, that's the one that the little multi-control knob is going to be adjusting. So there's the RF power output. Now, DNR is something I want to show you because DNR is fabulous on this radio. Of course, we have to get a signal. So what I'm going to do is hit the sweep. Oh, let's get out of function. Hit the sweep. I see some signals around there. Let's pick a signal that's appropriate. Okay, there's one. And I'm going to turn on the digital noise reduction and adjust the level.
CQ. November 4, Whiskey, Quebec, Bravo. November 4, Whiskey, Quebec, Bravo. CQ. N4WQB. N4WQB. CQ. November 4.
That is just outstanding. And on the low settings of 1 and 2, it doesn't destroy the audio at all. You find a lot of times you turn your digital noise reduction up and it just makes it sound like it's underwater. Nasty. Your notch filters and stuff also work excellent on this. So you have sort of a digital notch filter here, which will automatically find the offending tone and get rid of it. Or you can put a manual notch and tune right through it. I don't know if I can find a carrier here. Oh, he has a little bit of carrier on his signal. Listen to that. Oh, maybe it was somebody else tuning up. Let's tune around, see if I can find a carrier here. I'll go out and do a sweep.
Quite a few stations, careful. Can you let me know what?
And there's another feature. Instead of you having to touch this manually every time you want to do a sweep, you can set up how fast you have to turn the knob before it automatically starts sweeping. So I have it set up for 4 kilohertz. If I tune faster than that speed, it will automatically go into sweep mode. Watch me do it. Oops. And you can set the sensitivity of that in the menu. I have it set on real high, so I've really got to spin it around a lot. But you can set it on lower.
Whiskey, Oscar Whiskey, W1, WOW, CQ, and listening.
W1, WOW, KD1,
Contour, I didn't mention, it's over here. And what it allows you to do is put a little notch sort of thing that contours the audio passband and slide it across the bandwidth of the window you're looking at to notch out other interference, to block out other interference. And I haven't played with it a lot, but it is a unique feature to the 991 over here. Maybe other Yaesus do have it, but it's one of the interesting features to take away interference that's close to where you're listening, where you're trying to operate. So we're back to the beginning menu here. I'm going to pop it over to memory mode here. And at that point, you have to be sure that this little knob here is set up for moving the memories. And to do that, you go into function and you hit memory channel to be sure that you're going to be moving the memories, because whatever you've punched last on these buttons is what the multifunction will do. So right now, this is doing the memory channels as I want it to do. And I've got them labeled. I did use the RT System software, which I highly suggest. Have them labeled actually with what they are. So you can increment through 100 memories this way. Now, below the 0 channel, really, on your memory channels are fixed channels for the 5 megahertz band, which are in there and you cannot change. So there you go. Also, you have the option of turning on the 5.167.5 Alaska emergency frequency, and I just turned it on so I can monitor there and take a listen in case I heard some emergency traffic. And there we go. I've got all the local repeaters ready to rock in there, and there we go. And my repeater. Yep. So. Still working, all right. So there we go. Also, what I like to do is on the beginning memory channels, just the quick ones, I'll end up putting the bands in, so you have a quick band selector between the bands in your memory positions. This is something I like to do. Now, one thing I will mention is something that was mentioned on the forums, that the internal antenna tuner really is not an ultra wide-ranging antenna tuner. So it can tune antennas that are pretty close to good SWR, maybe 3 to 1 and down. So don't expect to load up absolute random hunks of wire on this thing. Go with something that's pretty close. But something also to watch is, and this was one of those firmware anomalies that's in this radio, if you are on a resonant antenna and you use the internal tuner to bring it down to 1-to-1, say on an edge of the band, be sure that you have actually nulled out the SWR. Move the meter over, and that's available in here. You can find the meter thing. Move it over to SWR, and you can check really what your SWR is, because sometimes it'll go through the tuning procedure and it may end up not being able to tune and you have a real high SWR, or it looks like it has tuned and your SWR is high. So if you're nulling out the SWR in a nearly resonant antenna out there, just go over and check that your SWR is correct, because you could have a situation where it's tried to tune, it really wasn't able to, and your SWR is high, and you'll end up transmitting and causing trouble cooking your finals. So there you go. Now, if we do hit our Vfo memory button and go into memories, there's Vfo, into memories there. Of course, we can increment them, like I said, with the little multifunction knob to the right here. I'm just going to bump my tuning knob a little bit here, and then if I do that, then I tune the multifunction knob. It increments through the memory channels over here. And you can see, as I said, there's the one set up for the 5 megahertz band there, showing the appropriate modes and the memory channels that are only allowed on the 5 megahertz. There's the emergency Alaska channel. And there starts our different memories. I have them labeled on the right, and you can also put them into banks so that you can search and scan through banks by themselves or the entire memory collection. I have all the New York air traffic control channels in there, and then over to the local VHF AM aircraft channels for the area here. So I have a whole bunch of different types of stuff in there. You could put FRS, family radio service frequencies in there. I've got all the shortwave with their labels in there. So pretty darn nice. And you go back to hit your VM button once more, and you're back into turning through the memory channels with this little detent knob, which is very convenient.
Have no chance of that until into next summer, huh?
Or hold it in, and you get the continuous sweep. But it mutes the audio. So that's what the scope's going to look like on the 991 Alpha, but it'll run all the time with the audio coming in at the same time. Hit it again, and you're back into the receive mode. So I just do a single sweep like that. I can see all the peaks and then tune around.
Not in the sky. Go.
Pretty much going north right now.
Nope. H-Air 58, been licensed 37.
Band stacking registers are also really nice on this radio. We hit the band, and then if we hit the band itself, we have 3 different frequencies in there, registered in there, and you can put CW, sideband portion of the band, and digital portion of the band. I have 2 CW portions and 1 sideband set up. Each one of the bands has 3 different registers like that. Now, let's go over to the CW portion. Let's hit the band again to get rid of it. We are on CW upper, CWU it says in the top over there, and we'll look for a signal. Now if I hit width, I can adjust the width, and you'll see the width changing on the top here. There's 50 hertz wide. Now I'm going to turn on the automatic peaking filter here. Not such a drastic difference when you're at 50 hertz, but when you widen it out, you'll see more of a difference. I'll go to, let's see, let's find a weaker signal. So it definitely does help. And all of your other stuff is available as well. Your digital noise reduction when you're in CW. Let's just kick a little bit of that on. You never know which way to go on these menus because you're like, well, which way is the thing that I want and what's the quickest way to get there? There we go. Nice. Let's take a look at C4FM operation. Basically, I'm using a DV4 mini dongle and a Raspberry Pi, and coming over on 435 megahertz here. We're on one of the reflectors. See, number 2 and 90 are very, very active, and there's generally stuff on there.
Mine, and I had been running the 8.4 firmware. I just upgraded it to 8.5 about 20 minutes ago.
So you can see their call letters, and sometimes their names come up, plus the distance they are from you, right under the 00 on the right.
I didn't even know 8.5, and that must be something real new.
Oh yeah, probably came out today.
We have a Shark RFIP protocol reflector setup that's linked up in here. You connect up to the
So if you have trouble understanding Stephen Hawking in the wheelchair, the physicist, you might have trouble understanding this. My ears are not that good, but most people say that the quality is absolutely fine and usable, and also realize that this mode, C4FM, is very similar to DMR in the encoding, so that they can make DMR to C4FM bridges very easily, as where D-Star is a very different codec, encoding codec, digital codec. So DMR and CFM are very close, and that works really nice for making links between those two systems.
And when DOT standing by.
Keep in mind, too, that Yaesu has hinted that they're going to have an upgrade path for people with 991s to turn it into a 991A, or you wanted to throw some money into it. So if you feel like you want the continuous spectrum scope scanner, then go ahead and do that, and that way you'll know that you have the high-quality finals, or the final fix has been put in for you.
The Shark RFIP protocol reflector setup is linked to our Alabama.
I realize a lot of these guys are coming in on repeaters, and their signals coming into the repeater are sometimes sketchy, and then you have a lot of people who are just operating from a PC at home, through a setup like this is right here. So in conclusion, if you can snag a 991, the not A version for a really low price, that means under $1,000 new, or much less than that used, and it has had its finals fixed by Yaesu, or it's one of the very last ones made, I would seriously consider that. It has a fantastic digital noise reduction. I have never heard better on any radio, and I really appreciate that when it does work. It's super smooth on CW. It has C4FM, so you could get into a little bit of the digital work. Go ahead and get yourself a dongle, get into the network of the backbone of the digital system there. There's a whole world of stuff to experiment with that. My old FT-991, really the predecessor to this radio, is a cult-level, fantastic radio. They still sell for a high price used. I know I sold mine. And it's just not in the same league as this radio at all. The receiver design is so much older. They've come so far in receiver design, and that's really what matters. And the transmit audio is spectacularly better on the 991 than an 897. SDR offers that super fast scope thing. I find it's not really a problem to hit the scope, take a look at what you got on in there, and then start talking, zoom around. Scope's not that important. If you want to get into the fast FFT scopes, 7300 by ICOM, the IC 7300 is a wonderful radio. It doesn't have 2 meters and 440 in it, does it? Interesting. You're not going to work one more station on the 7300 than you would on a 991. And most people buy them that have a ton of other radios just to play around with it. So there'll be a lot of those on the used market. But if you're wanting a shack in the box, that's a whole nother story. And in fact, you'll probably work more people on a 991 because you got 2 meters and 450. And the 7300 is still considerably higher than a 991 non-alpha model. Not panning that 7300 is a great radio. And also radios like that are not really groundbreakers or anything like that. They're just the groundbreakers for the Japanese market, or the Japanese manufacturers, really. Because those of us who have played with SDR and used it for years with really much higher grade instruments have been using the kind that hook to a PC that are made in Austin, Texas by Flex Radio. So if you want to put your toe in the SDR lake, you can get a 7300. If you're really serious about it, you get a real SDR. So if you do want a rig that has DC to daylight in it, performs really well in all the things that it does, can go in camping, go in the RV, go back in the house for your standby backup rig, I can't think of any reason you wouldn't get a 991. So I'm giving it 2 thumbs up. It's turning a problem into an advantage. Their little mistake turns into an advantage for us. So take care until next time.